Well, what's up, guys? We are continuing on in chapter 2 in First Timothy. And last time we looked at how Jesus is our mediator and how he's the only one who can stand between a righteous God and our sinful selves. And what we're going to see today is that Paul actually unpacks how that works, how it is that Jesus stands in between us. And he uses one specific word that is really powerful in how we understand the gospel, how we understand how Jesus functions in our lives as sinners that are looking to be turned to servants, as Paul said he was back in chapter 1. So let's start in 1 Timothy chapter 2. We're going to read at the start of this sentence in verse 5. He says, "For there's one God, and there's one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given at the proper time." Like I said, last time we looked at how he is the mediator, and this time he says that Jesus gave himself as a ransom for all, as a ransom for all. Now, that key word ransom there is something that is really powerful and something that we need to understand. What ransom is a ransom is a price paid for somebody to be free. A lot of times we see this word used in the context of maybe like a prisoner or somebody who's been kidnapped, and somebody asks for a price in return for giving that person back their freedom. And this is a really powerful image here that Paul gives us, that when we think about our sinfulness, what we need to think about is that there is a price, a cost that is required for us to experience freedom, for us to experience what it is to live the way that God intends for us to live again. And what we need is somebody to pay that cost for us. And a lot of times in RSM, we've talked about this picture that's played out throughout the New Testament of a court scene, and God as a righteous judge. That is who he is. He's a righteous judge. And when we think about us as sinners standing before a righteous judge, the only right and true verdict that judge can give us is punishment for our sin. And yet what we believe about Jesus is that he actually stood in our place, paying the penalty or paying the cost, the ransom for us. Jesus even says this himself back in Mark 10. You can look there, Mark 10 verse 45. He says, "For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as there it is again, a ransom for many." Jesus knew that this was why he came. Jesus had this goal in mind from the very beginning, that he was going to pay the price that sinners need to stand before a righteous judge. And if we continue on with what Paul says, he says that Jesus gave himself as a ransom for all. Continuing on with this theme that we saw at the beginning of chapter 2, where he said, pray for all people, that all different types of people, that everyone now has the opportunity to be freed from the cost that our sin puts on us. And this is a core tenet of the gospel. This is a central truth to what we believe as Christians, that Jesus gave his life as a ransom for all. That it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It doesn't matter whether rich or poor, but that Jesus' blood is sufficient to cover the sins no matter who you are. And we need to be the type of people that are sharing this good news, that are proclaiming this good news, that Jesus paid the ransom that we have on us because of our sin. And that's actually where Paul's going in chapter 2 here, that he's reminding the church in Ephesus, and he's reminding Timothy that he's called to keep this message central to everything that he does, and that the church needs to keep it central to everything that they do. If the church is truly going to aim at love, we need to make sure that we keep our message about the ransom of Jesus central to everything everything that we do.